We know pastels mostly from the Impressionists. They offer the possibility of combining drawing and painting like no other artistic technique. Furthermore, you neither need expensive equipment nor do you have to take drying times into account when applying paint. The color result can easily compete with oil paints and watercolors. In this tutorial, I will show you how I work with them using a winter landscape as an example. Hello and welcome to Art for Everybody. If you haven't been here before, my name is Evi Steiner-Böhm. I'm an artist from Germany and I also have two assistants who are called Pedro and Rosa. And now, without further ado, let's get going. I'll briefly show you the material I've prepared. I have Ingres paper, which actually is a French name and would correctly be pronounced Ingres. It has a slightly rough surface, and I personally like that better than the modern sanded papers because it gives the painting a very transparent, old master-like effect. I chose this brownish color because the snowy landscape contains many blue tones and it gives me a kind of complementary color. The complementary color would of course be orange, but in my opinion that's too much. Then I've already chosen my pastels. I have white, I have different shades of gray, different earth colors like light ochre, burnt sienna and burnt umber. This is a shade of green. Then I also have different shades of blue. When I apply them, you will notice that the chalks are quite different, are very hard, some are very soft, but that doesn't matter. I got pastel pencils for the details and a kneaded eraser in case I want to correct something. Now let's get started. I make a preliminary drawing and very lightly indicate where the horizon should be and this forest here. But you can see that the preliminary drawing is absolutely minimal and only shows the main lines. And now I build the picture like I would build an oil painting, in several layers on top of each other. This doesn't work quite as well on the Ingres paper as it does on the sandpapers, because a little bit of the paper will always shine through. But that's also the magic of the paper. Here too, I'll first do the lightest tones and then add the different grey and blue tones step by step. Then I rub them all together before putting the next layer on top. If you rub this in, you can also work with a brush or with paper wipers. There are various tools for this, but I personally never use them. That's why I can't show you them competently. For the parts of the sky that you can see, just note that the further up the sky goes, the more intensely blue it becomes, and that towards the horizon, the blue remains transparent and, above all, very cool. So I use the very delicate turquoise blue for down there and then let it transition slowly into ultramarine blue. By the way, if the colors get too dirty, I have a small bowl of semolina ready, so I can quickly get the chalk clean again by simply rubbing it with this semolina. Another thing is that you have to keep knocking these little grains of dust off. It's usually better to work on the easel because the dust can fall down. But in order to show it to you, I have to leave it flat, so I simply knock it off now. Okay, and now the same process just happens again and again, until only small areas of this brownish background can be seen. I'm going to show you this now in fast motion. This is something you simply have to try out for yourselves. If the sky is finished so far, that only very little of this brown background can be seen through, you can now draw individual clouds with the pencil. Next, I will do the forest and the trees, and those who know me know that I work in a very impressionistic manner. That is, I will simply hint my trees. Here, for example, I do it with downward curves to indicate that the branches are hanging downwards. And here too, I do layer by layer. That is, I mix the green with the black, and then I put the snow-covered branches on top. It will blend together and then look completely natural. In the background, the whole thing, of course, becomes much more indistinct, so I just indicate everything with color anyway. I also do the deciduous trees that are here and there in this area. I indicate the tiny branches, which you can perhaps steal through a little, and leave everything very abstract. I will solve this later with the pencils as well. Next comes the snow. In this area, the sun shines in, and here the snow is in the shadow. It's late afternoon and it's getting very cold again, so it can get pretty blue down here. The white up there will look pretty warm anyway, because the background is the brownish paper, but I also put a bit of light ochre over it to make it look even warmer. Now all that's missing are the dark trees that appear in the foreground. I'll just draw them in very boldly with black and then design them afterwards. With the trees, what I said at the beginning works for me now, because I can draw fine lines with the pencils and do all these little branches in a really distinct way so that they all look very delicate. But I don't just design them with black, rather do them like I did there. I make them colorful, sometimes with blue, sometimes with violet, and then at the very end, lights come in everywhere with the white. With these final details, I'm now trying to harmonize the picture by introducing a little bit of the colors I used in the picture everywhere. They should look like reflections on the objects. And now there is a lot of detailed work to do, so I have to think about where I still need lights or deep shadows, or where I might need to take something away. The nice thing about pastels is that if I overdid something, I can easily take it back again. This is a huge advantage compared to other techniques. Okay, and finally, when it comes to pastels, there is always the question whether you should fixate or not. Of course, if you use dark backgrounds like I do, it always becomes even darker and it almost looks like an old master painting. I personally like that look, so I will fixate it. And if it's really gotten too dark, I go over it again very lightly with the lighter colors, but then don't fixate the second layer. It always makes sense if you have a pastel with a passepartout and maybe even behind glass, because then nothing can happen. If you don't do that, I would still fixate it. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I hope I explained things in an understandable way, and I'm looking forward to the next video with you. See you soon.